All right, our first tactic. Here we go. Let's get started. So you're looking at your PDF probably and you're seeing what it is already, but now I want to elaborate more on it for you. See it and say it, right? First of all, have you ever thought about why you're losing influence in the home or why you don't have the influence you wish you had? See, often I find that we have been taught as a society, hey, just show up. But I have a question for you. If all we did was showed up at work, would you feel appreciated? Would you feel valued? Would you feel like you had influence? Like literally, if you just showed up to work, sat down in your desk, didn't do anything that contributed to the organization or the mission, and then left and just continued that cycle, how would you feel? In fact, if all we did was show up, do you think it's possible that all of a sudden you could get fired? You could be left behind? Man, this is why we are seeing parents of all different backgrounds, of all shapes, sizes, ages, races, you name it, losing their influence with their children because they have been taught just to show up. Well, tactic number one is going to flip that on you right now. We're pulling this again from our specialization of situational awareness. I want to help you see more than others see. This is going to affect your home, but it's also going to affect those around you. So let's talk about it. One thing that we need to look at, if we go back in the past and we look at some like ancient leadership wisdom, some old documents that have recorded, different things in the world, whether we go all the way back to the Roman Empire or we go even further back, we can begin to see that people saw a lot of value in names. Names did not just mean a label that someone wore. It really represented a lifestyle that they were going to move towards. It represented identity and purpose. There is a lot of value in a name. And I want to share with you 4 things that you can do right now to help your children discover their name. That's right. I'm not talking about their first name, my name being Adam. I'm talking about identities that they carry everywhere they go. Now look, I'm a man of faith and I am pulling some of this from scripture, but you don't need to be a man of faith, a woman of faith. It's all good. Totally fine. I just want to be able to help you in this time. And this is something that made a huge difference for me. Not only did it help my kids, it helped my relationship with my spouse, because then my wife was looking at me saying, I love your intentionality. I'm on board with this. I want to create a unified front too. I want to lead a legacy. So, first thing we must do as parents, we must see what is inside of our children. See it. So look for your children to show certain attributes. I don't care if they're 20 years old right now. You better start looking. Okay, I don't care if they're not born yet. Then you better start preparing your mind to see it. Because we must see what is inside of them. And I'm just going to give you an example from my own life. My daughter, firstborn, she is joyful. Everywhere she goes, this kid is happy and laughing and being a total goofball. She's joyful. That is not something she does. That is really part of who she is. I see it in her. I just see joy. Everywhere she goes, she releases joy, okay? Next thing, she is compassionate. All right, so with her compassion, one thing I've really noticed is if someone gets hurt and we're roughhousing or whatever, all of a sudden she will shift into a state of compassion. She'll be like, are you okay? Is everything all right? I'm talking about a 3.5-year-old girl here right now, okay? And I've seen compassion in her multiple times. Next thing, I have seen in her fierceness. She's fierce. She will fight. She's a warrior princess, as you've heard it said many times from probably so many people now, right? And in this fierceness, she'll fight. She'll get feisty. And I don't always like the fierce side because sometimes a little bit too much. But when partnered with compassion and partnered with joy, I can see what she needs for the next stage of her life, and I can better position her for that. So that's the first thing. You got to see it. Next thing, we got to say it. I should be telling her consistently, you're joyful, compassionate, and fierce. This is not what you do, it's who you are. You bring it to the table. Remember, names we talked about. These are labels because we need language in order to help position things, position people. There's value to language. There's value to you actually saying things and putting labels on it. Labels are not a bad thing. They just got to be used properly. All right. Labels should not limit, but instead they should lead. They should be able to say, hey, here's your label. Let's lead you in this direction. Let's lead a legacy. So we talked about seeing it. We talked about saying it to them and reciting it over and over, right? That's the next step. we say it out loud, and then we say it to them. We recite it to them. And the last thing, we tell others about it. We tell people that my kid is compassionate, she's fierce, she's joyful. We position them for it. Okay, I'm going to take it up a level for you. Now that I know she's joyful, I should put her in positions where joy is needed. Now that I know she's compassionate, I should look for careers for her that require compassion because it's in her. Now that I know that she's fierce, well, she's probably going to be some boss babe one day running some big organization, right? Because she's able to stand up for what really matters. See, this is one step, one tactic for you right now to begin to lead a legacy and create a unified front in your home. When your spouse sees you do this, they are going to be so excited about your intentionality. Next thing, I want you to give them examples of what it looks like. When you watch a movie, when you pull out a resource, this is something I talk about when I'm booked as a speaker, right? I've spoken to this one organization that was a veteran-based organization. I talked to them about, hey, we need to be able to see it, but also we need to be able to point to the examples and say, hey, see right over here, that Iron Man was being fierce? You have that inside of you as well. Are you catching this? I'm keeping this simple for you, but I also don't want you to miss how important this can be for your life. Now you start to tell your spouse, our kid is joyful, compassionate, and fierce, and all of a sudden, a unified front starts to form. I'm going to wrap tactic 1 up with this. It is so important during this stage of your life that you begin to allow yourself to see these things. So often we see what's wrong instead of what is right. We need to be seeing what is right and highlighting it over and over and telling them. If you can do that with me, I want you to first look at all your children, and we're going to start with just one identity word for them. One thing that they bring to the table that you see it. And each child should be told by you at this point, this is just, hey, I'm a coach. I'm a speaker tactician, right? I'm telling you, look, if you want to receive some training right now, then let's go take some action as well. Because information alone does not really bring the breakthrough. We need to go take the action. Your next step is to figure out your children and your spouse, what is one identity word that they bring to the table, and then let them know what it is, start to tell others, and get them convinced that that is who they are. That is what you're going to do going forward from now on. I would make this a daily habit. I would put this in your planner to just make sure for a while that you're looking for opportunities to show them this, and you're bringing out the best in them, because we know the world is going to constantly tell them who they are, but you, as a parent, you have been positioned to see things that others cannot see, and you need to be telling them consistently, this is who you are. You are joyful, you are compassionate, and you are fierce, and you are wonderfully made.